In the famous 1962 treatise of philosophy of science, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, Thomas Kuhn wrote that successive transitions from one paradigm to another via revolution is the usual developmental pattern of mature science. Now, what I want to argue is that developing an appreciation within a hobby is following a similar structure as what Kuhn outlines in Science. Deepening appreciation isn't a simple linear growth. Rather, oftentimes it involves what might be called a paradigm shift. Now, I would say that the Orient Bambino version 3 is one of those dress watches which I think requires a bit of re-examination of values of what constitutes a quality dress watch. It certainly defies conventional historic expectations, which I'll be considering in brief here while I'm looking at this watch in detail. For all of my Baroque talk of philosophy of science, the question that the Orient Bambino ultimately presents is this: should this watch be considered a legitimate dress watch? If so, why? Now, I would say that from a style standpoint, the 60s vibe definitely gives this a dress watch feel, but moreover, the case quality is excellent and it's a great value. The version 3 of the Orient Bambino forsakes the more ornamental Roman numerals of the previous version for simple square hands, which feature a slight dome and thinly applied indices at the 5 o'clock markers. You do have painted markers around each of the minute markers, and then the traditional Orient shield with the lions. The Orient printing and water resist text is all in a flat paint, but the dial itself has a rich color to it, especially this blue version that has a surprising amount of depth. It just doesn't look the same in any given light. It's a lovely blue that plays with light in a very unique way. Noticeable, of course, is the sweeping seconds hand, and this watch does have Orient's in-house movement. Now, I'll be honest, this is one ugly duckling of a movement. It is nothing to behold, so that's why a closed caseback really is an appropriate thing on this watch. Now, the movement in the Bambino is the same as that in the Orient Flight, which I previously reviewed, so please check out that review, which I'll annotate and link below if you want more details on that movement. The long and short of it is, it has a decent 4-hour power reserve, it's accurate enough, but it does have a noisy rotor. One thing that would probably be better not there at all would be the date aperture at 3 o'clock. The fact that it's there is certainly a concession to practicality, and the fact that the movement is pretty small. I wish it could be maybe at 6 o'clock to maintain symmetry though. Now, a key part of the visual appeal of this watch is the heavily domed mineral crystal. And I'll be honest, I'm not as huge of a fan of it as some people are, just due to the huge distortion that happens at some angles. I just wish it was acrylic, honestly. I could tell you that Orient produces in-house watches and that this is an in-house movement, and that is something to the merit of this watch. And while those are good things in and of themselves, I think ultimately someone looking for a quality automatic dress watch at $120 isn't going to care very much if their watch is an e-Bosch or if it's an in-house movement, because they're going to perform relatively similarly. So this watch's appeal is really in the design and the fact that it's an automatic. The fact that it's an in-house, I think, adds a little bit of icing on the cake, a little bit of taste of provenance that might get someone more interested in watches as they continue to appreciate design and history. But of itself, the Bambino doesn't have a ton of provenance other than being just a great affordable dress watch with an automatic movement, which is to say it has a lot more than typical fashion watches that you would be paying for at this price. Build quality on this watch is really better than average for its price. First of all, you have a nice contrast of polish and satin finishes on the thin case, which would totally be unnecessary in a watch this simply designed. You also have a stamped crown here, and it's very thinly laser etched. It's definitely nothing too extravagant, but again, that's something that you would not necessarily need to do on a watch this price range. But one area where the fit and finish is definitely punching far above its weight is in the action of the crown. First of all, you'll notice a substantial crown stem that in both positions pops out very confidently. Moreover, there's almost no wiggle in the crown. That is the kind of thing that is definitely uncommon in a watch of this price range, even I would say compared to Seiko's. So that is one thing that is going to inspire someone to adjust this watch and get used to the fact that this is a watch that is going to require a little bit more attention than a typical quartz watch. Definitely a highlight of this watch, a surprising highlight, is the crown. On my 7¼ inch wrist, this watch at 40.5 millimeters is definitely comfortable to wear and easily fits under a cuff. I would say that it's a good average size that will work on most wrists. Though the Orient does a good job of presenting a clean modern design, and it's from a brand that can manufacture a quality case and a reliable movement, by no means is this dress watch striving for maybe the higher aspirations of some dress watches. For example, here I have an Ophion 960, which I previously reviewed. Now the Ophion is literally over 10 times the price of the Orient, and what you get straight away is a dial which is obviously much more dynamic and has a tremendous amount of visual interest in comparison to the Orient. And it has a magnificent Swiss movement that is coupled with a made in Germany case. Now obviously this is an apples to oranges comparison, but when you think of dress watches, a lot of times watch connoisseurs will be thinking of a watch like this, or maybe they'll be thinking of something a little bit more heritage, like this Omega Connie here. Now this is an example of a watch that has fabulous patina and a lot of details in the case that are just not going to be present in the Orient. Now, the thing is that most people honestly don't care about that, and collectors bullshit about this a lot. BS, and I'm thinking of Harry Frankfurt here, is basically a way of manipulating opinions or ideas based on rhetoric and not on any actual states of affairs. And the truth is for most people, this is all the dress watch that you're going to need, and you're going to have a lot of enjoyment and a long life of wear with this watch. It could definitely be serviced for many decades to come. So to bring this all together, the real paradigm shift of the Orient Bambino is the fact that you can get an excellent, wearable, reliable dress watch for $120. The real paradigm shift is for collectors who have unrealistic, phony expectations about what a dress watch should be. It doesn't need to be made in Switzerland. It doesn't need to have a super fancy movement. It doesn't need to be from some ridiculous luxury brand in order to frankly pull off the dress purpose in a watch very effectively. This is a watch that could easily go with any formal outfit and easily dress down with the right choice of straps. Frankly, this is a watch that should be appreciated by anyone in the spectrum of collectors, if they're not phonies. Orient Bambino version 3 does not strive to be a legendary watch or a great watch, but it is a good watch, and anyone who appreciates wristwatches will appreciate a good watch. Please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review. If you're new to the channel, I'd like to invite you to become a subscriber. And as always, thanks a lot for watching.